test. Good afternoon.
In here. Thank you everybody for joining us. We're gonna just wait maybe 2 more minutes. We have a board member Flores on her way, so thank you for your patience. I feel special. I mean, don't give me the microphone because I'll never stop, so it's that's why I stay away from it. But thank you guys. Let's start. Welcome everybody to the regular school board meeting this Tuesday, September 9th, 2025. Roll call. President Arlene Murillo. Board Secretary Claudia Rodriguez.
Present.
Board Member Ms. Laura Salazar Flores. Board Member Priscilla Guerrero.
Present.
Board Vice President Christian Lira, present. Item 2, Pledge of Allegiance and Mission Statement. Board Member Rodriguez, can you go ahead and help us with the mission statement, please?
The Gadsden Independent School District will provide diverse educational opportunities that empower students to be successful in an ever-changing world. El Distrito Escolar Independiente de Gadsden brindará diversas oportunidades educativas que capacitarán a los estudiantes para tener éxito en un mundo cambiante.
Item 3, Superintendent District Updates and Recognitions. 3.8, Suicide Prevention Week.
Mr. Vice President, board members, thank you for joining us this evening. Ms. Forty is going to present this item.
Thank you. All righty. I'll start again. Good evening, Vice President Lita, members of the board, and Superintendent Dempsey. September is National Suicide Prevention Awareness Month. It is the time to recognize warning signs, encourage open conversations, and connecting people to support and resources. This week, September 8th through 12th, Gadsden ISD is hosting a district-wide Suicide Prevention and Awareness Week. Our theme, You Matter, You Belong, reminds every student and staff member and family that connection and support are essential to our well-being. As the district social emotional learning coordinator, I support our counselors and our mental health therapist in providing mental health support and interventions to our students. Our goal is not only to respond to crisis, but to build a culture of prevention, where students know they are not alone and that seeking help is a sign of strength, not weakness. Sadly, in my 5 years with Gadsden, we have lost 3 of our students to suicide, losses that have deeply affected our community and highlight the urgency of this work. These are the tragedies that have left lasting impacts on classmates, families, and our community as a whole. Suicide is the second leading cause of death among adolescents, and research shows that prevention begins with listening, with building trust, and ensuring students feel safe and connected. Our district-wide event will focus on promoting kindness and inclusion, educating our students, our staff, on warning signs, sharing resources, reducing stigma around mental health. Together, we can create a network of care where every student feels seen, valued, and supported. When we stand united in strength, dignity, and hope and purpose, we can make a difference. We can help save lives. As a school district, we cannot do this work alone. It requires the commitment of our families, of our staff, and community partners. I invite each of you to join us in making suicide prevention a district-wide priority, not only this month, but every day. Together, we can create a community of care where every student knows, without question, that you matter, you belong, and your life is worth living. Our tech kings have created pins for you, for many of us, using their fabulous 3D printer. And so we hope that you like them. You're each getting one. We hope that you wear them proudly, not just this week, but in the future to come. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Forty.
Item 3B, Alta Vista Early College High School, U.S. and World News Report on High School Ranking.
Mr. Vice President, board members, I'm honored to come to you tonight. There's a little history behind this particular item. This report typically comes out this time of year. Unfortunately, when it initially came out, I was not aware of it. And the very next morning, I got to present in front of LFC. And they were in Las Cruces at the time. And one of my colleagues, Mr. Chavez from Hatch, brought up the report and recognized Gadsden. He was talking about how he was excited last year that he was number 4 and he thought he could jump into 1 or 2 spot. And Alta Vista completely exceeded him. And then several of our other schools jumped in front of him in terms of the county. And so he was a little upset with me, and I didn't even know it. But, you know, Ms. Gensler's here, I believe, and I'm going to invite her up. And I think she has a couple staff members that want to say something. But what I want the board to walk away with is understand that right now, Alta Vista Early College High School is ranked number 1 in the county. That's Doña Ana County. And this report has almost 14,000 high schools in it. And you're going to get a feel for where Gadsden ranks. And that'll be included in this. But it doesn't happen just because we wish it to happen. Right. It takes sweat and blood and a lot of tears and a lot of dedicated people. And that's what this group right here, I believe, represents. So Ms. Gensler, I'll give you the mic.
Good evening, Vice President Lira, members of the board, and Superintendent Dempsey. On behalf of Alta Vista Early College High School, I want to thank you for recognizing our recent honor from U.S. News and World Report. This accomplishment belongs to our incredible students and to the teachers and staff who support them each day. I would like to acknowledge Ms. Catherine Angel, counselor, Dr. Rachel Acuna, science teacher, and Mr. Saul Almeida, history teacher, who are here with me this evening. It is the passion, dedication, and years of commitment to our students that have brought us to this moment of recognition. Our educators consistently go above and beyond, and our students meet those high expectations with hard work, determination, and pride. The combined efforts of the Alta Vista faculty and staff are what made this achievement possible. We are deeply grateful for your acknowledgement and continued support, and we will remain committed to representing both Alta Vista Early College High School and the Gadsden Independent School District with excellence. Thank you. Photo?
Ms. Gensler, I didn't know if your staff wanted to address us.
No.
No, okay. I do have something for you, so
awesome.
we do want to do it.
Yes,
Moving on to item 3C, parent communication, remind social media analytics.
Mr. Vice President, board members, Mr. Carmona will present this item.
Good afternoon, Mr. Vice President, members of the board, Superintendent Dempsey. I bring before you the update on communications. We are at a healthy rate of 58,973 messages sent over the last 30-day period with a 91% successful send rate. And you'll recognize this graph. So you can still see the pretty standard, a little bit above 400 send rate over the last 4 weeks. But what I'm really proud to bring before you is the next few slides. So our Facebook reach continues to be very healthy at 55,000 plus. And what I did is I went and I looked at the analytics that we kept. Unfortunately, I only went back to 2022. So in the next slide, you'll see some comparisons. So there is the reach that we achieved in March of 2022, which we were at a 16,238. So if you compare that to today's, I'm proud to say that our community is really supporting us on Facebook. And the next slide, please. We finally broke the 7,000 numbers, so we are past 7,000 followers. In the next slide, I'll give you a little more context for that. So if you can see, we're at 7,020 followers currently. In August of 2022, we were at 4,184. So we've got to celebrate that increase in followers, and I thank everyone at home that follows and likes and supports all of the great things that are happening in the school district. Next slide, please. And then this is you might have to use the new Zoom feature to see the particulars here, but I'm very proud to highlight how we do compare to other school districts. They may have more followers, they're much larger, but if you see the rate of published content, we exceed that of even Canutillo on a regular basis. And we're making great progress, and it's a privilege to be able to highlight all the wonderful things that are happening at the schools. And it's not just me and my department, but we have people doing this hard work of highlighting on social media across the district. It is literally a network where we distribute the work across the district. I think we got one more. Nope, that's it. That's all I have for you. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Carmona.
Thank you.
Moving on to item 3D, student activities, student representative.
Mr. Vice President, board members, we have Kaylin Flores, who's an 11th grader at Gadsden High School.
Hello, my name is Kaylin Tinoco, and I am the junior representative for Gadsden High School. I am proud to announce that my grade and others have been on a strong start academically, even with attendance. Starting off, our football team has won every game, and yet more to come. We won 35-12 on our homecoming game. Continuing with our homecoming that week, we celebrated school spirit by having days like Monday, which was a Disney day, Tuesday, which was a duo day, Wednesday, which was a quince day, and Thursday, which each grade would have individual colors. Wednesday, it was an absolutely gorgeous day, as few girls relieved their quince. More people did participate more on Tuesday and Thursday. Continuing the topic with school spirit, currently we are raising awareness by participating in the GISD Suicide Prevention and Awareness Week by what we wear. Such as yesterday, Monday, we wore blue to kick off kindness. Tuesday, such as today, either wear purple or turquoise, as I try to wear, to promote awareness. Wellness Wednesday, to wear yellow, a wall of hope. Thursday, wear college gear, your future is bright. And Friday, we should wear our team jersey to team up for life. Finishing off with our school activities, more people are trying out for clubs and sports, especially freshmen and sophomores. FFA is currently on a trip in the state festival this whole week. As for others like marching band and DECA, we are currently fundraising along a few struggles with cashless. Once again, football is going great along with soccer. Our volleyball JV team won a game. With that being said, I am glad my grade level and my school has started off school strong. Thank you for your time, and have a good rest of your day.
Caitlin, thank you. moving on to board members' report. Before we go on to board members' report, I would like to ask for a moment of silence for Mr. Patrick D. Mitchell, husband of Ms. Nubia Tarazona. If you guys could join me, please. Thank you. Let's go ahead and continue on with the board members' report. Board Secretary Claudia Rodriguez.
Thank you. Well, I want to mention the suicide prevention. I really appreciate everyone that is paying attention, right? I know that hits home, and there's always those teachers that look and pay attention to see what is happening and being the support for those kids. I would like for everyone to know that I think that's one of the reasons, we're here to support. That's why we're part of this board, or at least that's why I am part of this board. I really, truly care about the well-being of the students, and not only the students, sometimes as adults, we also need that support and we need that help. We need to be there for each other. So thank you for doing this. The pin is wonderful, and it's made with the 3D. That's pretty neat. So thank you for doing that. So again, continue and know that you're not alone. Whenever you want to speak, there's always someone that's there willing to listen. So know that. For Alta Vista, one of the two words that I really highlighted were the passion and commitment. I think that this district is, has those words truly everywhere. There's a lot of committed people, the staff, everyone that you speak to are here because they love being part of this district. So congratulations to Alta Vista. And then, well, just to remind everyone, there's always coffee with the principal, coffee with the superintendent, and remember that there's also the centers at the high schools and at North Valley Elementary. There's a lot of things that, as parents, as members of the community, there's support there in many ways, and there's classes that happen, and please participate. We lose programs because sometimes they see that there's no participation. So we don't want to do that. And we want to make sure that you're receiving what is necessary. So please join. And again, by being part of those coffee with the principal and with the superintendent, you know what is happening within the district. So thank you.
Thank you, Board Member Rodriguez. Moving on to Board Member Ms. Laura Salazar Flores.
Good evening, everybody. Thank you for joining us online, and to those of you who are here in person. Mine's going to be very brief. Thank you to all administration, all teachers for having, I believe, a successful parent-teacher conference not too long ago. And we are in fall sports season, so it's exciting to see all the football games going on. And so, support, no matter where your kid goes to school, support our kids by attending those events. And then I want to say thank you to all of our schools who have events such as Grandparents' Day, other events that happen throughout the school year in order to invite the community and all our stakeholders into our buildings. So thank you for doing that, administration and teachers and staff. And then I just wanted to wish safe travels to those of you who are attending, including Mr. Dempsey, and I'm pretty sure his Chief Financial Officer to the Mass Bowl Conference. So safe travels. And that's it for me.
Board Member Ms. Priscilla Guerrero.
Hello, good evening. I just wanted to touch base. I'm sorry I wasn't able to attend our last meeting. I was able to watch it online, and I want to say thank you to President Murillo for her questions regarding the budget. I did have very many similar questions that she had about the duplicate. Thank you for the clarification on that. Mr. Dempsey, thank you for offering the support to be able to offer us that individual sheet that kind of shows us the results about the funding and how we're seeing the positive. I know since the concern of budget, that's good for us to oversee. I really appreciate that. I do want to address some concerns that were brought to me as far as the SPED department, if we could bring them up into discussion items for next week. I had a parent reach out to me from Gadsden High School, and I'd really like to, if we could discuss that further on some concerns that she had within the SPED department. If we could reach out to that. Thank you for the suicide prevention. I think that's super important. Thank you for, being there to support our children. I think it's very important. As a mother of a soon teenage daughter, I know how bullying can go and different things. So any teacher that you're out there, thank you for being those teachers. Sorry, I forgot my 80s wear to support for the suicide prevention this week, but thank you so much. That's all I have for us this evening.
Thank you, Ms. Guerrero. As far for myself, I don't have a lot. I do want to keep pushing Mr. Dempsey on the activity. I do know that we spoke about it, and we had a meeting, an email thread with Mr. Infante, because in these past 2 weeks, and I've monitored, now that I paid more attention, 2 more crashes, and it happens, on McNutt. So that just keeps happening, and that happened from the previous conversation that we've had, and that's something that I'm going to have to start digging in and maybe calling the state, and then just trying to see how I can go ahead and get as much information. And even if we do some grassrooting from parents and be like, hey, you know what, these are the statistics, and then we just send them all of the data that we can, so they know that it's on our radar, because that's something that I do want to accomplish, hopefully before I leave the framework for a stoplight in Artcraft Airport and McNutt, or throughout McNutt. Thank you. Moving on to item 5, Equity Council report.
Mr. Vice President, board members, we have none to report at this time. Our next Equity Council will come up, and then we'll report when we do.
Moving on to item 6, Superintendent report on community outreach, including underrepresented and non-English speaking families.
Mr. Vice President, board members, Ms. Villalobos will present this item.
Good afternoon, Vice President Lira, members of the board, Superintendent Dempsey. I wanted to show a little bit what's happening this month on the activities of at the community centers, like Ms. Rodriguez was telling us. And Mr. Snorri, you can click us for us involvement. So you can see, if we can scroll the month of August, you can see, you can start scrolling up a little bit. So you can see, for example, this is just for the center. This represents only 4 schools. And you can see exactly what happened at each center and what happened at each one of those schools. If you keep scrolling down, you're gonna see each one of the schools in the district. You wanna see exactly all the classes, all the coffee with the principals, all the agendas, all the signings, everything is there. So you can see exactly what happened at every school and at every community center in the district. The parents that attended, the flyers, everything. Okay, so everything is like, so the way it's organized is by parent ambassador. That's why there are not all the schools together. But if that makes sense to you, that's how you can be really accessing and see everything that has been happening and all the documentation. Thank you.
Thank you. Moving on to item 7, Union President report to board. Moving on to item 8, Human Resources report. This is just for information. Item 9, modification of the agenda.
Vice President Lira, I would like to accept the agenda as is.
Board Member Rodriguez has made a motion to accept the agenda as is. Do I hear a second? Do I? Oh, do I hear all in favor?
Aye. Aye.
No. All against? Motion passes. Now moving on to item 10, regular school board minutes for August 28th, 2025. Do I hear a motion?
Vice President Lira, I would like to make a motion to accept item 10, regular school board minutes for August 28th, 2025.
Do I hear a second?
Technically, he could do a second if you'd like to. You can. So I'll second for you.
Oh, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All against? Okay, so moving on to item 11, the consent agenda. Do I hear a motion? Or is there any questions regarding the consent agenda? I hear none. Do I hear a motion for the consent agenda?
Vice President Lida, I'd like to make a motion that we accept the consent agenda as is.
All in, Ms. Flores has, Board Member Flores has made a motion to accept the consent agenda as is. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All against? No. Now moving to item 12, open forum. Do we have anyone?
Sir President, we have none.
None. 13, we have no action items. Moving on to item 14, discussion items. Moving on to discussion item A, GISD financial outlook, right-sizing plan.
Mr. Vice President, board members, we started talking about this at our last meeting. I definitely wanted to bring that back and add some numbers to it, as it was, kind of helps you to understand what's going on. First of all, let's do a real quick recap. And Mr. Snowdy, if you go back to enrollment trends, and a lot of times when we're having this conversation, I think it's very important to remind ourselves why. And at the end of the day, the why is our declining enrollment. Over this graph shows 7 years, but for 14 years, Gadsden has been reducing a little at a time. And we're seeing that more and more, and we want to make sure we have a plan that financially puts us in a great place where we protect our people and our programs and don't let ourselves get too far out in front of it. So if you go back to that original slide, Mr. Snowdy, what we also put together is some campus data, and this will give you an idea. If you can click on that next link, Mr. Snowdy, it'll give you this in clusters. And so each cluster, the first cluster you're seeing is what I would consider it's the Gadsden cluster. So you see the current number that's enrolled at Vado, Gadsden Elementary, North Valley, Anthony Elementary, and Bedino. The third column, you see if you took the current 5th graders out, which keep in mind, they'll be 6th graders in the 26-27 school year, and they'll be at the middle school. And then you'll see what that number looks like in the next column without 6th grade. So you'll see how those numbers, what they look like. The next column shows the capacity at each campus. So you can see, and then space available. So you can see there's adequate space at really every campus has quite a bit of room. And that gives you some idea of how much room we have. And so one, I would want you to be comfortable that any conversation around consolidation, we're moving students to a campus that can handle that number of kids actually very easily. We would never want to consolidate and then overwhelm a campus that's not made for that number. I went ahead and did this for each feeder pattern. So Mr. Snowdy, if you go to the next one, and I think it's just good for all of us to see this. Chaparral feeder pattern, you see Chaparral Elementary, Desert Trail, Sunrise, and Yucca. You see what happens when the 6th graders come off. Now likely for that campus, we're estimating 28-29 school year because Chaparral Middle hasn't, we're in design phase on it. And then what those numbers would look like if you took those 6th graders off, what the capacity of each campus is, and the space available. And again, you see there's plenty of space available on those campuses, okay? And then let's do the ST feeder pattern, okay? Santa Teresa, La Union, Riverside, and Desert View. Current numbers, take the 6th grade off, without 6th grade, the capacity of each campus, and the space available. So again, you're starting to hopefully get a pattern that we have adequate space available, without a doubt, in any campus we consolidated, okay? So let's go back now. So that's the two grounding pieces that as you talk to community members, as you have conversations, I would encourage you and them to take a look at that and use that as a frame of reference. So the first item, we talked about this is currently going on and will continue for the next few weeks. These are what we consider employee transfers. Sometimes they're voluntary, most of the time now, they're involuntary, meaning I have too many teachers at one campus, and I have a need for a teacher at a neighboring campus. So I'm going to then use, we utilize the rules in our CBA. It says the lowest seniority individual will be moving from one campus to another one. We try to work really hard to make sure they're close in proximity. We don't want anyone to create a hardship where we're asking them to drive a significantly long distance away from where they're used to. And we do, we really enjoy when people volunteer, because they may say, oh, I've always wanted there. And so those are things that, we look for if we can do that. The other option that and I'm sorry for that, employee transfer, when it's all said and done, I think when it's all said and done, we'll probably be able to absorb about $2 million worth of salary. And the reason that is because you might have instead of hiring a position, you're moving someone who's already budgeted to that position. So you're not extending your budget further out. Okay, and I think with, give or take the number of moves we'll make this year, I think you can save about somewhere around $2 million. The next one is the voluntary retirement incentive option. And what this would entail was any employee who has who meets the requirements for ERB could be given an opportunity to receive an incentive to do so, to retire. But what we're asking them to do is drop that paperwork early for us. So it's a planning tool. They don't have to retire until the end of the school year, but we need to know that that's what they're going to do early here in December, because that gives us that tool to utilize. I think there's a potential savings of a little over, I think we could easily get to $6 million in that savings. And I'm working out the details right now with finance. I am comfortable in saying we've agreed on an amount, and the amount would be $8,000. Okay? Yeah, so a nice little incentive that if somebody's looking to retire, they would have to retire in the spring. I have some people that have probably maybe even thought about it and dropped their paperwork for December. I would strongly encourage those individuals to come by finance and move their date to January 1st, 2026. Okay? Formal consolidation of Loma Linda Elementary. If you think about, because of our construction project, like we talked last time, it's really already done. I just need to take the steps to make it formal, and that would begin next year. There's really no savings with that because we've absorbed those things already. But it's important to get that done and make sure that you're aware of it. Then the next one is a consideration of possible consolidation of Benino Elementary. I think there could be a savings of around $2 million there. And that would then allow us the opportunity to change our attendance zone. So some of those students would be going back to North Valley. Some of those students would be going to Vado, and then the closest school to Benino is going to be Gadsden Elementary. And so that's something I'd like us to discuss and talk about. Consideration of a transfer of Sunland Park Elementary. We do have some state entities interested in Sunland Park Elementary. We spend about $100,000 a year in terms of just basic custodial and just keeping the building with chemicals and cleaning supplies and salaries, about $100,000 to keep that open. Now, keep in mind that Riverside Elementary Pre-K Center will open in January. I got to visit it today. It is a beautiful facility. The team here has done an amazing job on it, and so we'll no longer have those pre-K classrooms there starting in the spring. So keep that in mind. Consideration of demolition of Mesquite Elementary. What I might suggest is there's a property value in that. Meaning, if you had a demo, if you went ahead and demoed the building, it could potentially, and I'm not a real estate expert, but we can get someone to help guide us, it could potentially actually increase the value of the property. The building could be seen as a liability. However, in just the last 24 hours, I had an individual from a state agency reach out to me with an interest. And so I'll make sure we explore that a little bit, and then as I get more information, I'll bring that back to the board. At the end of the day, anything to do with real estate in the district has to be actioned by the board, okay? And so that's another possibility. We mentioned a little bit of a relocation of Alta Vista Early College High School. There's really no money savings, if you will. However, and I mentioned this yesterday, if the district chose to put Alta Vista, if Berino were consolidated and they put Alta Vista there, we do currently share staff between Desert Pride and Alta Vista. If you moved them somewhere else, it would be harder to share staff. So there's a little bit of a savings there in that possibility. And then finally, the idea of possibly moving the Anthony Pre-K Center to Loma Linda. The reason why I put $3 million there is that's about the district match that we would need to build a new pre-K center in Anthony. If you haven't been to the pre-K center in Anthony, it needs a lot of work. It's a pretty old facility, and one of two things are going to have to happen. We're going to have to find a better place for them, or we're going to have to build a better place for them. So those are just the items that Mr. Lira, I think it was you shared. Give me a list. And so this is what I tried to do, is put a list together and put some numbers to it. And so any questions you might have, and help me dig in when you have a question for me, let's really try to get into how do I provide you the information you're actually needing. So what are your thoughts?
Thoughts?
Vice President Lira. So one of the things that I would like is for the community to be more informed about it. I know that it creates some chaos, right? When people don't understand, I really appreciate the way that you had the different columns, because it puts it in perspective, right? Like what truly is happening. I know that there was a lot. I did receive some calls stating that the district was in a deficit, there's no money, and the reality is not that. And so understanding what truly is happening, and like I said, that chart that you had there, and seeing where the enrollment decline will affect, right? And then knowing that those buildings will be able to take in more students, I think that that's very important. But I do believe that the community needs to be informed so that they know why this is being done. The other one was like with Loma Linda. I did receive some calls about that as well, stating that, well, the district already did it, like the consolidation. Well, technically, yes and no, because it was something that it just happened to happen that way, right? And so being able to relocate the students, the seventh graders, and then having the 8th graders at the high school. So it just happened to fall that way. It wasn't just because it was being imposed. And I think that that's part of the problem, that the communities usually think that the district does things without taking us into consideration. Well, the reality is different. So sometimes understanding the whole story and looking at everything that's truly happening is what's necessary in order to get that information. And let's see, I think that it would be great for the voluntary retirement incentive. I think that the staff deserve this, and again, like I stated last time, it's something that it's a choice, right? Nobody's going to tell you need to leave if that's what you are opting into doing. So having some sort of incentive, I think that it's a great perk, and I think that was it on those.
Anyone?
I do have some questions, Vice President Lira. So one of my questions, sir, is where are the $8,000 coming from? Like, where is that pot for that many?
Vice President Lita, Ms. Flores, that definitely would come out of a cash balance. And so the idea is that you would probably, with given the amounts that we've kind of ran, you would probably spend somewhere between $1 and $2 million. But the savings in next year's budget could be as much as $6,000 to $8,000. So really, you give a little now to get a lot later, because that salary and benefit is the big chunk of money down the road.
Another question would be, in looking at the personnel report that was provided to us for this board meeting, I did see some individuals, so making a connection here is that are putting in their retirement, or I guess for maybe sometime this semester or sooner, maybe September, October, I don't know. In case if that's the case, can they rescind their retirement and then wait till whenever in order to get the $8,000, or is it a done deal for those that have already, if they're choosing or have submitted paperwork already to retire, can they rescind it so that they can benefit from that proposed, if the board chooses to do that?
Mr. Vice President, board members, Ms. Flores, here's how I'm going to respond to that. If they've already retired, like they're already off the books, it's done.
Correct.
There's no rescission. If they haven't left yet and they want to change their retirement to meet this requirement, which would be after January 1st, 2026, or before June 30th, 2026, then absolutely would let them do that.
Okay. And I think my last question would be regarding the demolition of Mesquite Elementary. Is there a current, like right now it's unoccupied, so are we at this time making any expenses towards that building, even if it's not occupied, or what are we spending on it, or none? And then my other concern is, I was thinking about the fact that it's been raining a lot, and I know that one of the biggest issues with that campus is the sewer. It's not leaking or anything like that, because you said somebody's interested. So is that person interested in just the land or with the building? So I guess my first question is, are we putting anything towards it currently, even though it's unoccupied? You know, do we have leaks, or is it in good condition other than the sewage?
Mr. Vice President, board members, Ms. Flores. So what I would tell you is that we do use that facility currently right now for storage in a sense. So we'll try to stage some of our auctions. Ms. Cadena, thank you so much. You can probably give me a lot better information.
Good evening, Vice President Lita, board members, Superintendent Dempsey. In answer to your question, Ms. Flores, we do have to keep up the grounds. We do walk that building several times a month because we do use it for storage currently. So like the surplus furniture, we just had a huge surplus sale a couple of months ago, but as you know, we empty it, it keeps accumulating. So we do spend money, like as far as maintenance and grounds, keeping it up, because we don't want it to fall to the ground and lead to vagrancy and stuff like that. And I'm not sure about the interest. We just know that it did appraise last year, I believe. And we brought that to the board. But we do have to maintain it as far as keeping it up. But we're not improving anything. It's not leaking sewer. The pipe is collapsed, and since there's no sewer flowing, there is no leak right now.
What about, there's no leaks as far as rain, anything like that?
No, ma'am.
Okay.
No, we check it quite often, and it's doing well.
Okay, so the only thing that's wrong with the building is the sewage, just making sure.
Sewage and the age, you know, you've got some walls that are a problem, shifting. You know, the foundation has shifted in the old areas of the building.
Okay. And then the gentleman or the person that showed interest, are they interested in the building and the land, sir, or was it just the land?
Mr. Vice President, board members of Flores, definitely interested in the building and the land. He really would like to see the building stay in place. But like we've shared with everyone, there's going to need to be a significant investment to keep that in place. And I cannot justify making that kind of an investment in something that the district really doesn't need.
If I may request a number, so thank you for answering my question that we are putting money into it. I'd like to know how much money we're putting into it, even though it's unoccupied, because I think, like, I'm going to agree with Ms. Rodriguez that the community deserves that to be transparent, so that when the time comes, you know, we can all make an informed decision of how to proceed with that campus.
Certainly.
Thank you.
Thank you.
That's it. Ms. Board Member Guerrero?
Everybody pretty much went over what I wanted to. Just as far as the involuntary transfers, that's something that I know has come up as far as the SPED department. I think that that is a concern for families, if there is anything we could do as far as that, because a lot of the times those children require routine consistency, and a lot of the times when we remove staff from them, that could be, you know, the trusted member that they have, that a certain student has made that connection with, and I know that could cause a lot of disruption, you know, and hardship as far as, you know, families, children, the other staff involved. So I don't know, that would probably be the only thing that I have to say about the employee transfers, but everybody else answered or asked all the questions I had, so thank you.
Mr. Vice President, can I address that?
Yes, sir.
Mr. Vice President, board members, Ms. Ghetto, I really appreciate that conversation. And what I'll share with you is for the most part, the lion's share of those involuntary transfers falls on Ms. Barciaga and her team. And it is difficult because we realize what you just described there. That it only takes, you know, our staff's fabulous. I'm just getting real. They're fabulous. So they connect to kids very quickly. And then a routine changes, and that's hard on everybody. And it could be our special education kids. It could be all of us, right? Even as adults, I like my routine a certain way. And what I might suggest is if we're a little extra aggressive now, next year, instead of involuntary transfers, we're hiring staff, because we have open positions. That's a different approach, and it's a really different way to come at things than what we're doing right now. And I assure you, Ms. Barciaga would rather offer people jobs than offer them moving to a different place and uprooting everything they're doing.
Thank you. Mr. Superintendent Dempsey, I do have some questions as well.
Yes,
what is your time frame to complete the right size plan? Would it be on 2026, or what's the time frame that you're looking at?
Mr. Leigh, which one of those are you talking about?
The whole project. I mean, does it?
Oh, the entire piece.
Entire piece.
Here, I could walk through that. So employee transfers are going on right now. Voluntary retirement incentive, I'd like to launch that within literally the next month so that we have the master list by December, and that would occur then by the end of the year, it would really be done. Formal consolidation of Loma Linda, we could get done this semester, I believe. Consideration of consolidation of Benito Elementary, to Ms. Rodriguez's point, that we need some community meetings, and you know, we'll talk about that in just a minute. The transfer of Southern Park Elementary, I think, could happen within the year. Demolition of Mesquite Elementary or transfer of Mesquite Elementary, I think, could possibly happen within the year. Relocation of Alta Vista depends on Bedino, but I think that is something that we could do maybe over the summer or into the fall or something of that nature. And then the relocation of Anthony Elementary Pre-K, I think that would probably be, I guess you could do it this summer, but it might be a year out, a couple of years out. What I would ask the board at some level in this is, are you comfortable with me going out to do some community meetings? I wanted to get your input and feel on these items before I went out to the community. So I sort of sense it's okay, but I want to be sure, are you okay with me getting out in the community and start having some community meetings around these?
As for me, it's sooner than later. I mean, I think that we should start getting those meetings, getting the community involved. One of the reasons that I'm here is because my community in Sunland Park reached out to me, and they're like, they closed the schools, and I needed to get informed. But I mean, I see the bigger picture, and I do see the necessity. So I do think that let's start meeting with the community. Well, you do your due diligence with that, and then we start putting workshops, and we can get the feedback to see what is it that the community wants. But for me, it's sooner than later.
Vice President Lira, I agree with you, but I do have one last question.
Yes.
Going back to the Gadsden feeder pattern table that you presented, Mr. Dempsey, I just want to make sure, can you clarify the primary reason Berino would be the one to close? Is it because the capacity is 555 and there's 209? It's the elementary in that Gadsden feeder pattern with the most space, or just if you can give me a clear idea why Berino? And then my other question is, does the current, are all students that reside within the homeschool boundaries of Berino, are they attending Berino, or do we have kids attending Vado, Gadsden, North Valley, Anthony Elementary? Because that's a request that I had from the last board meeting. Is I'm very curious numbers, percentages of students that are not attending their homeschool.
Mr. Board President, Mr. Vice President, board members, Ms. Flores. So there's two factors when they ask the question, why Berino? There's two factors. First factor is age of building. It's the oldest of the buildings. It's older than Vado, it's older than Gadsden Elementary, it's older than North Valley, it's older than Anthony Elementary. And then the second is the current enrollment. It has the lowest current enrollment of any of them. So I'm displacing the fewest amount of kids and families. So just like we talked about, change is hard. And so I don't want to pick the largest school unless I had to have a major reason to do that, right? You want to try to pick the smallest. And as it turns out, the smallest is the oldest building, okay? We did put together some out-of-district numbers. I want to go over them again before I present them to you. Here's what I'll share with you. There, like any of our schools, we have a couple in-district transfer pieces where students who may live in Berino, but they attend Gadsden Elementary. But what's interesting about Berino is it's got probably the smallest population of individuals that live in that area and do in-district transfers out. But I want to spend a little bit more time on that data before I present it to you, because I wasn't real clear on some of the information that was in it. But I do have that for you, and I'll bring it to you.
Superintendent Dempsey, on the process, the meetings that you're going to be conducting is going to be with your staff and community, and after that we do the workshops, or are we going to be involved on that process?
Vice President Lida, you guide me on what you're comfortable. Now, what we did, let me share with you, when we did the consolidations for Mesquite and Southern Park, we had a community meeting. Board members could attend and really I think it's an opportunity to hear from your community. We'll have some type of a mechanism that allows us to capture their thoughts, and and I would present to them the numbers and try to answer the whys and help explain, here's why we feel like we need to do this, here's our justification, if you will, and then we give them a chance to share with us. And sometimes there's community members who they're very passionate, and that's okay. That's I don't mind that, and I get to talk to them and we can hear that. That gives you a chance to kind of hear that conversation a little bit, and then we could then come back and do a workshop. We could, if you wanted to, we could do community meetings out, 2 or 3 or something of that nature out, especially at Berino, and then come back and do a workshop here and invite people to come back and do that if that's something you'd like to see done.
I think that would work. Thank you, sir. Moving on to,
Mr.
yes,
Lida,
ma'am.
I know we say that the consideration of relocating Alta Vista to Berino would be not really saving money, but you mentioned that we share staff. So would that cost us money in the end as well? Is that something that would be a big cost to relocating them?
Ms. Guerrero, it really, I wouldn't say it costs us money. What it really comes down to is it's because they're right by each other. You could share a counselor, you could share a certain teacher. if you're not by each other, it gets hard to do that. And it's really hard on staff to have to get in their vehicle. They lose time traveling, and so we try not to do that if we can keep from it. So that's why I suggest that, Betty, we have a fabulous relationship right now between our two principals, and they are just been terrific about sharing each other's resources, and it's really kind of helped them bond, and I've been very impressed with it, and I think there's a benefit to kids. I maybe haven't realized all of that yet, but at some point, I think there's something really special that can be driven there.
Thank you. Moving on to item 14, discussion items. B, community meetings.
Mr. Vice President, board members, Ms. Villalobos is going to present this item.
Vice President, Mr. Lira, board members, Superintendent Dempsey. What I want to share with you is a schedule that we have organized for all the community meetings in the district for the year 25-26. What is that is important to understand? What I shared with you before, what we were doing, you are seeing the activities that are taking place at the community centers on a regular basis, which are the classes for the parents, the workshops, all that, plus the activities at the schools. That's what you are seeing on that presentation that you have every month. What are happening at the schools, which is when they have a math night, a Lego night, coffee with the principal. That's what is documented there. This is something completely different. These are the meetings that we have with community that we use and have surveys and documentation on everything, because this is what conducts the district needs assessment, which is what determines what are the priorities and how we are listening and involving the voices. So there are different parts in this. If you can see, if we're gonna go is by columns, because we have 4 different activities. One is the community focus meetings. The other one is coffee with the superintendent. Then you have the equity councils, and then you have the cultural events. So all of them are completely different. What is the difference in this? The first part, which is the community focus meetings, what is the intention of this? This is the main part of that make us a community district, because it's measuring, taking the data from all the community and determining what are the needs of the district for this year. How are we gonna do this? You have the schedule where they're gonna be. The first one, we're gonna be having it on September 23rd, Gadsden High School. That's gonna be Mr. Dempsey's presentation on what he just presented to you, to the community, the whole plan on what it is. And you see on these community meetings, the main topics on the district, because you see superintendent's presentation, we're gonna have budget, we're gonna have HR, we're gonna have special ed, we're gonna have support services, we're gonna have technology. So what is the intention of these meetings? Number one is education to the community, because there's gonna be presentations from everybody. There's gonna be surveys and discussions. On these meetings, they're gonna take place in the morning and in the afternoon, so it's gonna be twice a day. We're gonna be keeping surveys, but more than anything, for example, on the high schools in the morning, the intention to do this in the morning is because we want students and teachers to participate. So we're gonna invite students, we're gonna invite teachers, we're gonna be, and in the afternoon, we're gonna be really targeting more parents and community to come and give us an opinion. We know in the afternoons, last semester, if you remember, we did already 2 community meetings. We did it at Santa Teresa High School and Chaparral High School. And we had great participation on parents in the afternoons, but we were missing parents, students, they don't come in the afternoon. We tried really hard, and they were like, no. That's why we want to do it in the morning. So with the support of the principals, administrators are going to be involved in these meetings too. So with the support of administrators, so that we can have the students and the teachers' voice, and in the afternoon, focus all our efforts to have all the parents and community members. So that's when it's going to be happening on the community meetings, and those are the departments that are going to be presenting. Coffee with the superintendent. This is kind of like what the agendas are going to be on the rest of the year, and you can see all the departments in the district are going to be presenting, educating the community, and showcasing what is happening and how the departments are running and what is happening. And the same thing is happening to the Equity Council. You can see all the things that are going to be brought to the Equity Council this year. All the conversations all the things. So we're going to have all the budget meetings, everything that is there is there. The last part, which is the cultural events, this is nothing to do with community needs. This is just for the enjoyment of the community, and these are requests that we have had before from the community, that they want to see celebrations of our culture and who we are, and that's what we're going to continue. As you know, last semester we did a very successful Santa Teresa High School cultural event. That's the biggest event on response of the parents. We had more than 200 parents participating on that event. And it was just celebrating our cultural traditions and who we are as a community. And we're going to continue. You can see the topics that we're going to have. In all of them, we're going to have authors of books coming presenting so that we can share a lot of our culture and who we are. So that's just celebrations. That's not for discussion or talking or anything. That's just for celebrate the community and the district. And if you have any questions.
Questions?
Yes, Vice President Lira. So one of my questions, ma'am, is how are we, I really appreciate that you're considering student voice and teacher voice, and so how are we going to make sure that there is a fair, equitable representation of students, that it's not going to be, you know, nothing against our student reps, but it's not going to be the high-achieving students, that there's, you know, equitable representation when it comes to grades, you know, performance.
So, Member Salazar Flores, let me tell you, this is not, it's very hard to really say, this is how we're going to represent an equity. This is trying to look equity, because this is for our programs, and this is how we are becoming a community district. How you bring equity to the table, inviting all the voices, so it's like we cannot force anybody to come and attend, but everybody, every student is going to have the invitation to go. This is not the leadership council that we select the students. It's not something like that. It's like this is opening and this is promoting it inside of the school and say, come and talk to us. Tell us what you want. Besides that, those community meetings are, all of them are going to be attached to a survey. Let's say that you have only 20 students participating, because you never know how many kids are going to really show up, if they care, if they don't care. We will send, and that's what we did last year, and that was very successful. We had in the meetings like 10 students. We didn't have that many kids, but we sent the survey to all the students, and we have an amazing response. And we have all the surveys documented, and we have an analysis of what the kids want and what they don't want, and how they respond and what they say. So and that's what leads. Because let me tell you something, that's what leads the needs assessment, which is required from the federal programs grants. Okay. We do a needs assessment every year on everything, and that's how we keep the documentation and how we track it.
Okay, so I just want clarification. The students who get to go is because it's going to be voluntary, which I mean, yes, you cannot force anybody, and I agree with that. It's going to be in person. It's going to be in person, or is it?
No, those are in person. Those are the community centers.
Okay, and so they will obviously be excused. I mean,
yes. Exactly.
You know what I mean? Because it's
yes, we're going to be working with administrators on that. Exactly. Yes, and that's why we're doing it in the morning and in the afternoon.
What time are the ones in the morning?
We say 9:30 and 5:30.
Okay.
That's what we try to do, so we can do it both morning and afternoon, and have the voice and have the discussions, have the conversations, come to solutions together, determine how we can work together, because most important than anything is like, how can we work together? Mm-hmm. That's the only way that we can be doing better every day.
Okay, and my other question would be, what is the plan? Because I get it, you know, not everybody's going to want to go, but you know, why if, I'm just playing devil's advocate, why if there's 55 teachers at a campus that all 55 want to go, what is the plan? Because they can't all be there.
They have to be teaching classes.
Huh?
They have to be at the classes, and they cannot be getting out of a class to attend a meeting, but they can attend in the afternoon. And the ones that have the period where they're not working, they can attend.
Okay, so then, the morning
because
is
we
just,
cannot take the teachers out of the instruction.
Okay, so the morning is for parents and students. So that
all of them are going to be open for everybody. Mm-hmm. What we saw last year with the first two focus community meetings that we had is that in the morning, that's when we had more students and teachers going. And in the afternoon, we had more parents.
Okay.
But both of them are going to be exactly the same. We're going to present the same. We're going to have the same surveys. And it's like wherever they decide to go.
Okay, thank you for clarifying.
So it's the opportunity of doing twice for whatever is more convenient.
Okay, thank you for clarifying. I was misunderstanding that teachers would be going during the day, and I was just wondering how coverage would occur. But you've clarified. Thank you so much.
Any more questions? No. Moving on to item 14C, profile of a graduate.
Mr. Vice President, board members, Ms. Hernandez and her team will present this item.
Vice President Lira, members of the board, and Superintendent Dempsey, I come before you as secondary director right now. We've absorbed that position, but I'm really proud of that. I did that for a year before I jumped into this position. But today we're going to present the profile of a graduate. I know that last board meeting, board member Flores talked about that, but if you recall, we've been working on this for a year. I think it was October 24th of last year we met on Saturday. Do you remember that? I think at the time, Board Member Guerrero was not on the board, and I think Mr. Lira had just gotten on the board. I can't remember, but I know that the three ladies attended, and if you recall, we had posters up on the wall, and we were having discussions. At the time, Mr. Woolgamith and part of his team, the secondary principals, were leading it. And so I'm going to introduce two of our district specialists, well, three actually, because I think Mr. Saul Nunez is also going to participate. They've been working on these pieces, I will say, and they will tell you that we are ahead of the game, because we, in fact, Mr. Encina will talk a little bit more about that. But if I can have you guys introduce yourselves and to the board, and then we'll move from there with the portrait.
Vice President Lira, member of the board, my name, Mr. Dempsey, my name is Julian Encina. I'm the CTE specialist here for the district, and that's me.
Good evening, Vice President Lira, members of the board, Superintendent Dempsey. I'm Jen Park. I am also the CTE specialist / CTE counselor for the district.
Vice President Lira, members of the board, Superintendent Dempsey, Mr. Saul Nunez, and I am the instructional technology specialist for secondary.
So we're gonna show you all, or well, sorry, excuse me, Vice President Lira, members of the board, Superintendent Dempsey. We are gonna go ahead and show you all, can I take this off? Because I don't want to lean down. The survey results from last year's survey. So as Ms. Hernandez mentioned, there was a survey that went out to students and the community, and it was in between September and October. It was advertised on our Facebook page, I think through Remind. We did a random sampling of students in the high schools. The secondary specialists all helped with that. And in that survey, we had an open kind of questionnaire for students to pick the top 5 skills that they thought would be important in a profile of a graduate. And so from that, we had about 22 overall responses that were similar, and Mr. Saul Nunez used AI to combine those results to get us our top 10 responses. And our top 10 responses include career readiness, financial responsibility, being engaged as a citizen, learning independently, life skills ready, using technology, being a multilingual communicator, building networks, being a team lead, and setting goals. So in those top 5 or top 10 skills, we know that having 10 skills on a profile of a graduate is kind of cumbersome. We also needed to look at the core competencies that those skills fell into, because the state, their guidance on that basically says that the core competencies need to include cognitive, interpersonal, and personal. So those skills fell into these areas. About 50% of the top 10 were cognitive, 33% were interpersonal, and 66% were personal. From those 10 skills, we also wanted to look at what our district wants our students to achieve. We considered the new graduation requirements. A lot of that work that happened on October 12th was to determine the new graduation requirements based on House Bill 117. And in those, it was determined that we want to continue to maintain CTE pathway participation. We know that students now must have a financial literacy and personal finance component within their graduation requirements. We determined as a district that we are going to have life skills ready courses, including a high school orientation and a senior seminar. And then we also want to make sure that our students have the opportunity to be multilingual communicators by participating in our dual language programs, which are now at all of the middle schools and soon to be all of the comprehensive high schools. We know that we will also require a modern language credit in our graduation requirements, and we are encouraging and increasing our biliteracy skill opportunities. Good, yeah? Okay. From there, we also wanted to look at our strategic plan. So our strategic plan highlights that students must learn independently through our MLSS layers of support and our equitable opportunities for all learners. And we also have STEM initiatives that we wanted to incorporate, which leads us to the use of technology. And last but not least, our district mission and vision really leads to the engaged citizenship, team leads, and career readiness, based on some of the key words in our mission and vision. You can scroll down, thank you. Okay. So because we know that those 10 skills are very important to our stakeholders, we wanted to incorporate them all. But like I said, having 10 or more skills listed on a graduation profile is not really a usable document. So we took those 10 skills and tried to create overreaching titles of skills that would incorporate all of them. And what we settled on was critical thinker, which, as you guys can see, incorporates all those key skills that students and parents and the community wanted. Career readiness, being culturally aware, financial responsibility, and integrity driven. Okay, Mr. Snowdy, you can go to the actual one-pager now. So from there, we actually considered many of the different graduation profiles that the state had already completed. We looked at Albuquerque schools, we looked at Las Cruces public schools, we looked at graduation profiles across the nation. And usually there's a one-pager that really simplifies the skills for the community. And so this is our example of our one-pager. It includes the overall components and just a brief explanation of what each one is, and then the core competencies that they fit into. And hopefully you guys have that to review. You can read through it. I don't want to spend time reading it all for you. But the other component of a graduation profile includes some key skills that are broken down a little bit more thoroughly. So this is the competency progression. Now, again, we looked at some of these states' examples, and in there we noticed that some districts decided to do a first grade, a second grade, a third grade, a fourth grade. And then some had grade level bands, and some just said by 12th grade students will be completing these skills. So we thought that a grade level band was most appropriate and a most usable document for our community members. Our grade level bands include kindergarten through 5th grade, and then 6th through 8th, which are our middle grades, and then 9th through 12th for our high school students. And each of the key competencies is listed, and then the skills that the students will achieve by the end of that grade level band. And if you scroll through, Mr. Snowdy, you can see it's for all of them: critical thinker, career ready, culturally aware, financially responsible, and as well as integrity driven. And we also have these in Spanish. They are also linked on that PowerPoint. Is there anything else you would like to say, Mr. Encina?
That's it. I just want to say that I think we're a little bit ahead of the game, because I just got a memo from PED indicating that they're starting workshops sometime in late September, the 24th, 25th, and 26th, to help us work on our graduation profile, on our graduate profile.
We stand for any questions.
Questions?
I just have a comment.
Yes.
So I appreciate all your hard work. That is awesome, and I really appreciate how you did the grade level bands and those explanations. And because it's you know, the graduate profile, it's not just like the latest thing, but it really redefines, you know, how our students graduate, for whether it's your traditional pathway or the alternative, and what the outcome is as they exit our district, and knowing that it's not just about, you know, how they do on the test, but preparing them for life and for being a productive citizen. So awesome job. And my only question for you all and for Superintendent Dempsey is, how are we going to, now that, you know, I guess my question is it ready to go, or still do we need some revisions? And with that in mind, when do we anticipate that this will be released to the district, communicated to our community, and then how are we going to advertise it so that
I mean, it would be something that I don't want our teachers to memorize, but hey, you know, the one pager, like we should know why we're doing what we do on a daily basis, because that's our goal to, you know, well, you know what I mean.
Vice President Lira, members of the board, and Superintendent Dempsey. Thank you, Board Member Flores. I appreciate that. You all had a lot of this input too, if you recall. I know it's a long time ago, but this team has really worked hard on that. And so our goal today was to provide it as a discussion. So if you take it back and have any questions and can call, you know, email me, and then I can tell the group, you know, you might say, can we add this here or can we add that there? And our goal for doing the bands was exactly what you said. We want kids to have that progression, because we felt if you did like kinder, first, second, third, what happens if they're not there in kinder? Or in, you know, we don't want parents thinking they're not progressing. Our goal is by the end of 5th grade, because it is a progressive scale, then we'll get there eventually. And the 3rd grader may be ahead, and the 4th grade, all those pieces. And so to answer your question, in working with these community groups, so what Ms. Rosie presented earlier, you know, we still have some adjustments to make, because, for example, I have to add the calendar in there somewhere. It wasn't in there, right? We still have to add this piece. So that could be part of our community meeting, part of our trenches meeting, and our goal is to make posters for everybody to have those, right? And so as a discussion item, I was going to bring it to action next week. The next board meeting, if you all had any suggestions, or, you know, this group really did a great job, because, like, to your point, Board Member Flores, we want parents to just see it and not have to be like, oh my God, it's 10 pages. This is what my kids are going to do. This is where it fits. It's cognitive, interpersonal, and that's it. So we're hitting the whole child, to your point. So yes, ma'am, it'll come to action if you approve it next board meeting, and then from there we'll start putting it out in Equity Council. We'll start putting it out in the meetings, and then as we meet with our principals, we have a principals meeting. We'll also introduce it there. So as they meet with their staff, that'll go out as well. So yes.
And this is just me suggesting, you could take it if you want, you know, but this would be a wonderful opportunity for, you know, as we work towards maybe rebranding or that branding idea of our district. I love the idea of posters. Maybe some individuals can actually have a T-shirt, you know, maybe having the profile on their signature on the emails. What else? I was going to suggest maybe, because it's going to be like a one-pager thing, putting it out there maybe as a competition where students can come up with a logo so that we can entice our artists, graphic designers. You know, they could do it by hand, and then we can maybe, Mr. Saul can help with the digitalization of this logo that, you know, is done by hand. Just some ideas.
Vice President Lira, members of the board, Superintendent Dempsey, absolutely, those are really good ideas, and did we note some of those things so that we're able to, my AI guy here, note it. But yes, thank you again for the support, and then we'll bring it to discussion, Mr. Dempsey, to action next time. Any other questions?
Yes, I just had another question. As far as the tracking, how does that work? I'm just a little bit out of touch with the profile. So how do we track that our students are on track and they're, you know, moving towards that? What is that we use?
Are you talking like Vice President Lira, members of the board, and Superintendent Dempsey? So what happens is, as we move through like assessments and as we move through the surveys, there's a lot of factors and mechanisms that we can use. What we can do is maybe like at the 5th grade or maybe even in 3rd grade, we can develop some kind of mechanism that shows us that they're there, right? And so if you notice, they're very general in nature, because we want to make sure the kids have a good sense of who they are, as well as but we're open to any ideas, and right, so we're also going to join the PED in some of their workshops and meetings to see what other districts are doing, because the PED's a little behind in this area, and we're a little bit more progressive in regards to how ahead we are in many of the areas. And so we'll definitely bring that back as soon as we get a logo and some of the okay, yeah.
Vice President Lira, may I make a comment? One last comment. One last suggestion is, I'm pretty sure you probably thought of this, is translating into español, you know.
Yeah, we need to, okay. It is translated, but we're going to review it a little, because some of the words, when I noticed them, don't match completely.
Okay, beautiful job. Thank you.
It was AI. Thank you so much. Any other questions? Thank you.
That'll be it. Thank you.
Thank you, team.
Thank you.
Moving on to action item 14D, board member training opportunities.
Mr. Vice President, board members, just a reminder, I am able to offer some virtual trainings to board members if you need some hours. There seemed to be a little bit of confusion around board training hours, and I want to make sure everybody understands that the way the statute was written, these hours they begin in January. Every year you're going to accumulate hours from January through December. So the hours right now for this board, we have to get those done by December. I have an online virtual approved option from NMPED, and if you're interested in that, just shoot me an email and we'll get you started, and Ms. Guerrero will get started on that. We missed an opportunity last week, but that's why we'll get it made up and we'll get an opportunity to do that.
Questions? Thank you.
But the training, yeah. Yeah, go ahead. Did you have a question? No, I just had a question. As far as those training opportunities, Mr. Dempsey, I did attempt to do it this weekend. I'm sorry, I got locked out of my computer, but I just had a question. Where are those trainings coming from? Are those trainings going to be, for example, it is approved, correct? So like, I know that we have the opportunity to attend the trainings in December, so I know that's there for me to complete those required 10 hours. I see it's the 2 days, so I know that those hours will be completed on time as far as that. I just want to make sure that they are credentialed, and I'm not going to be,
Right.
utilizing time that's not.
Sure. Mr. Vice President, board members, Ms. Guerrero, it definitely, NMSBA has been the primary tool or mechanism for board training. And with the statute, the way it changed is now PED is responsible for that. And that's why when this, I kind of honestly, I felt like given what we've learned through pandemic and other, educational avenues, why aren't we offering online opportunities for board members? Because there's some situations you can't travel. And so we only have one way to do this? That doesn't make sense to me. So I had reached out to a vendor and I asked the vendor, could you create this? They said, yes, we could. So they created it. I then reached out to and there's a school board school board liaison with New Mexico PED. I reached out to him. We met him in Cloudcroft. Some of us that were there. Mr. Vincent, talked to him about it. He said, this sounds like a great idea. Run it up the chain to the secretary. I spoke to the secretary. She loved the idea. And so our approval then came straight from the Secretary of Education, who by statute is in charge of board member training.
I do have a couple of questions, sir. Who is the vendor that is providing the services?
Mr. Vice President, board members, Ms. Flores, it's DDSK is the vendor.
I see. Okay. And then you mentioned that you had reached out to them and that it's a pilot. If it's a pilot, are we paying money currently, or are
Absolutely. I can't ask them to create, a format without paying for it. So absolutely, yes, we are.
Okay, so what is the benefit to the district of it being a pilot? What will...
Well, the benefit, if you think about the benefit to the district, for board members that can't travel, we get to still get an opportunity to get training and still get our schools accredited. Because at the end of the day, one of the 10 factors for school accreditation is board member training hours. And the way I understand it is if one board member misses their hour or hours, our district doesn't get accredited. I don't want to put anybody in that situation. I want to do everything. And I know you don't either. But there are some situations you can't travel. And if you think about the cost, the 6 of us going to Santa Fe, think about the cost of that. Registration fees, hotels, meals, $6,000, $7,000 every time we travel. This is somewhere around $4,000 for the year, one time.
So it's, thank you, because I was about to ask you for $4,000 for 1 year for all of us. Okay. And then I know that it is, if you will, a directive, I'm not sure the word I'm trying to look for, from New Mexico PED. Is this endorsed by New Mexico School Board Association in any fashion?
Mr. President, board members, NMSBA is not involved in this side of it, no.
Okay. And then while it benefits us as a pilot, do you have intentions to share the outcomes, with New Mexico as a whole? Does that make sense? What I'm asking is while I get it, you're proposing to do this as a pilot because it's going to benefit us directly as a district. Do you have any plans as far as sharing the outcome of it later on with the state, with other superintendents, with other districts.
Mr. Vice President, board members, Ms. Flores, I will tell you that I'm aware of 6 districts that have already requested to be a pilot as well. So I actually think there'll be a dozen districts between now and December that'll utilize this tool.
And all these 6 districts are using this DESA?
I'm sorry?
All districts, all these 6, 7 districts that you're mentioning are using this DESA?
DDSK. DDSK. It's not a CES. I thought I heard CES. It has nothing to do with CES.
D as in dog, ESA?
D as in dog. DDSK is the vendor.
DDSK. Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. I think that's it for me right now. Thank you.
President or Vice President Lira, I want to make a comment. I think that it's important, and thank you for doing that. But I also believe that we do need to make every effort as board members to be present, right? It's a great opportunity that the NMSBA provides all these trainings for us, whether it's local or the ones that or not local, but when we travel to Albuquerque or Santa Fe, and then also the NSBA. So those are important, and thank you for taking the time to looking into this. Again, there's other ways that we can take advantage of it, but I hope that this doesn't deter us from attending those either. You know, that's something that it's a benefit when there's those critical situations where you just can't attend. But as a board, I think it's part of our responsibility, right, to take care of that within the time that's allotted. So that was.
I was going to say, Vice President Lira.
Just a comment.
Hi, Vice President Lira. I just wanted to say, if I may, I totally agree with you, Ms. Rodriguez, that there's nothing like being in person. But it is, I'm going to say it's a wonderful opportunity for when you get into a bind and there's another option. So, but yeah, nothing beats being there in person. Thank you for that comment.
I will add to that. I do think that we should all make the effort, but this is a great option as well, because some people do get anxiety when they're in those trainings. So we'll move on to 15 upcoming board meetings and events. We have 15A, the next regular board meeting, Thursday, September 25th at 5 p.m. at Chaparral Middle School. We have B, NMSBA Fall Regional Meeting, Tuesday, October 7th at Hondo Valley School. C, Santa Teresa Charitable Foundation Golf Tournament, October 24th at Butterfield Trail Golf Club. D, Audit Exit Conference, November 5th at 2 p.m. GAG, that is Mr. Lira and Ms. Guerrero. E, NMSBA Annual Convention, December 6th through December 4th through the 6th, Embassy Suites Hotel, Albuquerque. F, NMSBA Board Member Institute, February 7th, 2026 in Santa Fe, New Mexico. National School Board Association, April 10th through the 12th, 2026 in San Antonio, Texas. H, NMSBA Spring Regional Meeting, to be determined. I, NMSBA School Law Conference, June, to be determined in Albuquerque, New Mexico. Moving on to
Mr. Vice President, I'm sorry, I apologize. Mr. Vice President, board members, and it's not listed here, but just a reminder, we do have a special board meeting scheduled for Thursday. The 11th, that's this week. It's only for ed tech, for passage, consideration and passage of ed tech notes, and that is required to be in a special meeting. And unfortunately, because of some of our bond council's timelines, I tried to do it today, they wouldn't allow it, so I had to do it Thursday. I will be participating remotely.
Okay.
Vice President Lira, I was going to add something else. Thank you, Mr. Dempsey, for reminding us. I'm going to go ahead and ask at this moment that I attend virtually myself, if that's okay, if preparations can be made and send me. I'd appreciate it if you can send me the link to both my email and my cell phone. That would be greatly appreciated in case I need to do my cell phone or whatever. My other question is referring to item 15D, the Audit Exit Conference. Chief Financial Officer Martinez is not here this evening, or you, Mr. Dempsey, will be notifying the parent, and it'll, I forget her name, the parent that attended last time?
Absolutely.
Okay, and that's it for me. Thank you.
Thank you. Moving on to item 16, board follow-up request of superintendent based on specific agenda items from this meeting.
Okay, Vice President, Leader, board members, I have an item noted about the traffic light. It's a project that we all want to work on and want to continue to working toward accomplishing that. Keeping the board informed of our enrollment trends and financial position, and we talked about some community meetings. What was the information to the community regarding San Miguel and the next steps? So that must be Bedino. I'm thinking that must be Bedino. That must be. I'm sorry?
For Mesquite.
Oh, Mesquite. Okay, for Mesquite. Not, oh, okay. So, all right, I can definitely will. And what I've got to explore what other potential options might be available to Mesquite. Okay. Profile of a graduate. We want to market that. Some T-shirts, signage, promote rebranding. Open to having students create a logo or some graphics that would be part of that. And that is all I have. Did I miss any items from the board?
Yeah, just about a concern I had from a parent from Gadsden High School with the special education classroom.
Absolutely. So, Ms. Guerrero, if you'll just share that individual's contact, I'll be happy to reach out to him.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. And now for item 17, closed session, and this does require a roll call.
Vice President Lida, I'd first like to make a motion that we enter into closed session to address item 17A, disposition of real property under section 10-15-1H8 of the Open Meetings Act, specifically so the board can discuss the disposition of property related to the Anthony Sanitation and Water Project, and then also to discuss 17B, which is disposition of real property under section 10-15-H8 of the Open Meetings Act, specifically so the board can discuss the disposition of property related to City of Sunland Park's use of property located at Santa Teresa Middle School for baseball fields, and then also to address 17G, limited personnel matters pursuant to 10-15-1H2 of the Open Meetings Act, 1978, as amended for superintendent and associate superintendent's report on employees on administrative leave with pay, employee grievances, and employee issues.
Ms. Flores has made a motion. Do I hear a second?
We have to take, second.
I second.
Actually, I cannot second. I am so sorry. I'm so sorry.
I second Ms.
Just roll.
Flores' action, motion.
Board member
Board Vice President Lira,
Aye.
Board Secretary Rodriguez,
Aye.
Board Member Flores,
Aye.
Board Member Guerrero.
Aye.
We'll enter into closed session at, what time is it? 6:37.
Audio check. Checking audio.
Excellent when you read the whole thing.
Test. I would like to make a motion to come out of closed session at
7:37.
7:37. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All against? Possible action items, 18A, the approval of authorizing superintendent or superintendent designee in consultation with legal counsel to proceed as discussed in executive session regarding disposition of property related to Anthony Sanitation and Water Project.
Vice President Lida, I make a motion that we go and table this action item for a future meeting.
Board member Laura Salazar Flores has made a motion to table it. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. All against? Action item 18B, approval of authorizing superintendent or superintendent designees in consultation with legal counsel to proceed as discussed in executive session regarding disposition of property related to the City of Sunland Park use of property located in Santa Teresa Middle School for baseball fields.
Vice President Lida, I make a motion that we take action in favor of approving, as you stated, the proposed action item.
Board member Laura Salazar Flores has made a motion. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. And 19, adjourn. All in favor?
Make a motion.
No.
Vice President Lida, I make a motion to adjourn.
All in favor to adjourn?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Thank you. We adjourn at 7:30. We adjourn at 7:39. Bye.